My name is Helen Wexler. I'm 67 years old, and I used to believe that if you loved your family enough, they'd never forget you. I hosted 38 Christmas dinners in this house, my house. I built the traditions. I carried the weight. I carved the ham with one hand while wiping tears off my grandson's cheek with the other. But this year, I got a bill. A $200 catering bill for a Christmas dinner I wasn't even invited to. It arrived on a gray Thursday afternoon. Thick envelope, professional letterhead. For a second, I thought maybe it was a holiday card from someone remembering I still existed. But no, it was a formal invoice from a high-end catering service in town. At the top, Helen Wexler's irresponsible party. Below it, prime rib, honey glazed ham for 20, lobster bisque, artisan rolls. A feast, not a seat in sight for me. There was a handwritten note clipped to the corner. I knew that handwriting. Andrew's assistant probably wrote it. But the words, they were pure Andrew. Hey, Mom, we decided to do something fresh this year and cater. Just keeping it small, just the immediate family. But we knew you'd want to contribute like always. Merry Christmas. Just family. Just family. It took me a full minute to breathe again. My son, my only son. The boy I raised in this very kitchen while his father worked double shifts. The child I used to sing to sleep when he was too sick for school. Now grown into a man who could send me a bill, but not an invitation. That was the moment I realized something had shifted. This wasn't just about Christmas. This was about being replaced, quietly, systematically, without a word of thanks. I didn't slam the bill down. I didn't call to yell. I just sat there, in the kitchen I'd cooked in for 4 decades, and let the silence tell me what I didn't want to hear. I used to believe love would be enough to hold a family together. But love without memory becomes labor. And labor without gratitude? That's exploitation with a bow on top. People think a revenge story has to be loud. But let me tell you something. Some of the most powerful revenge doesn't sound like shouting. It sounds like a woman setting down the knife she's used for 38 Christmases and walking away from the table. I called my son the next morning. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask him why. I just said, as calmly as I could, Andrew, I got a bill for a Christmas dinner. It has my name on it. But I wasn't invited. There was a pause, then a laugh. Dry, awkward. Not the kind that fills a room, but the kind you use to fill silence when you've done something wrong. Oh, that, he said. Yeah, we figured it'd be easier this year. You know, less pressure on you. Less pressure. What he really meant was less presence. He kept talking like he didn't hear what he was saying. Jenna's parents are flying in. We just thought, smaller group. The kids are getting older. Things change. Then came the part that split me open. You've always been generous, Mom. I mean, you paid for all the Christmas stuff growing up, right? I guess we just figured you'd still want to help out. Help out. With a party I wasn't invited to, in the house I paid for, with recipes I wrote by hand, and still, he thought I'd help out. I didn't argue. I didn't say, how dare you? That's not my way. But I did say something that made him pause. Do you remember the Christmas when you broke your wrist sledding and we celebrated in the hospital waiting room? He went quiet. We didn't need catering or imported cheese that year, just a little turkey sandwich and your crooked smile. I waited, but he didn't respond. Just said, look, Mom, we love you, but things are different now. He hung up before I could say, I noticed. Can I ask you something? Have you ever felt like you became invisible in the same house you built? Leave me a comment. I want to know I'm not the only one. That night, I walked into my living room and stared at the photo wall. Every Christmas, lined up like a timeline. Baby Andrew in footy pajamas, Andrew in college, Andrew proposing, Andrew holding his first child, and me. In every single frame, smiling, serving, holding the camera. But now, I wasn't even in the room. That's when I knew. This wasn't about getting older. This was about being erased. One quiet holiday at a time. And what hurt the most wasn't that he forgot to invite me. It was that he didn't think I'd mind. I didn't tell anyone. Not Linda, not the neighbors, not even the choir ladies I drink weak coffee with after Sunday service. What would I say? My son planned Christmas without me, sent me the bill, and thinks that's normal now? No, I held it, like I've held everything else. That evening, I poured myself a cup of tea and walked through my house, lights dim, air still. I opened the old cedar chest at the foot of my bed, Harold's chest, and pulled out the manila folder we'd never labeled. Just tucked it there like we'd never need to explain anything. Inside was the deed. The house Andrew lives in, the one he's raising his kids in, the same one he renovated last year without asking me first. It's still in my name. Not a cosign, not a trust, my name. Back when Harold died, I told Andrew he could live there rent-free. I said it was temporary. He said, "Thanks, Mom." That was 6 years ago. He never paid a penny. And now, not only am I not invited into that home, I'm expected to fund the celebrations that happen inside it. Celebrations I started. Traditions I built. The next morning, I brewed coffee out of habit. I set 2 mugs like I used to. One for me, one for Harold. I still do that sometimes, just in case he's still watching. I stared at the invoice again. $3,200 for food I wouldn't taste, people I wouldn't see, laughter I wouldn't be part of. But the number wasn't what stung. What stung was the way Andrew didn't hesitate. How easily he'd placed my worth in a number and my presence in a box labeled not necessary. No tantrum, no confrontation, just this quiet understanding growing in my chest. I had been replaced. They didn't throw me out. That would have been easier to fight. They just stopped seeing me. Like a piece of furniture no one bothers to dust anymore. I stood at the window that afternoon, watched a neighbor string up lights with his daughter. She couldn't have been older than 7, her cheeks flushed from the cold. He kept stopping to laugh at something she said, even when the lights got tangled. I used to do that with Andrew. And now, I didn't even make the guest list. That night, I folded the invoice back into the envelope. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I placed a call, not to Andrew, to my lawyer. The next morning, I didn't cry. I didn't pace. I didn't even bother to call Andrew back. There was nothing left to say. I made my usual toast, poured a cup of lukewarm coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with the catering invoice in one hand and the deed to Andrew's house in the other. One made me feel like a burden. The other reminded me I wasn't. Harold and I bought that house 32 years ago. We poured every bonus check, every scraped-up dollar into it. When he passed, I couldn't bring myself to sell it, so I let Andrew move in. He had just gotten married, and it felt like the right thing to do. Family helps family. But somewhere along the way, help turned into expectation, and expectation turned into erasure. He never asked if I wanted to keep hosting Christmas. He just stopped coming. And when he did, he brought opinions, not appreciation. My sugar cookies were too sweet, my decorations too cluttered, my voice too loud around the kids. So I got quieter, smaller, more agreeable, until now. I set the deed aside and stared at the invoice again. $3,200, a catered meal with my name on the bill and no seat at the table. That's when I made the decision, not out of spite, not even out of anger, but from something deeper, clarity. I picked up the phone and dialed the catering company. "Good morning, this is Premier Events. Monica speaking." "Hi, this is Helen Wexler. I need to cancel an order for December 24th. It's under my name." She sounded surprised. "Can I ask the reason for the cancellation?" I looked around my kitchen, at the recipe cards stained with time, at the apron Harold gave me for our 10th Christmas, at the silence I had grown used to. "Plans changed," I said. She confirmed the cancellation. I thanked her and hung up. Then I did one last thing. I took an envelope from the drawer, slid in a single dollar bill from my wallet, and wrote a note in my steadiest handwriting. "Since I don't have a seat at the table, I won't be paying for the meal. Consider this my contribution. Merry Christmas. Mom." No drama, no yelling, just a quiet withdrawal of something they'd taken for granted too long, me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost in my own story. I felt awake. Christmas Eve came and went without ceremony. No delivery trucks pulled up to Andrew's house. No smells of glazed ham or rosemary bread drifted through the neighborhood. I imagined the panic, how they scrambled to salvage the evening. Maybe they ordered takeout. Maybe Jenna's parents were unimpressed. I didn't ask. I didn't need to know. I spent the evening at Linda's place, my sister's cozy little home across town. She insisted I come, even when I told her I didn't want to be a burden. "You're not a burden," she said. "You're the reason I even remember what Christmas is supposed to feel like." There were just 6 of us. No matching place settings, no formal menus, just roasted chicken, potatoes too salty, and store-bought pie. And yet, it felt more like home than any Christmas in years. I laughed, really laughed, when Linda burned the dinner rolls. I told stories I hadn't told in decades, and no one interrupted. No one corrected me. No one rolled their eyes. After dinner, her granddaughter crawled into my lap and asked if we could bake cookies tomorrow. "Not the fancy kind," she said. "The kind you let us decorate ourselves, with too many sprinkles." I nodded, smiling. "That's the only kind I know how to make." Back home that night, I stood in my quiet living room and looked around. Nothing had changed. The same old couch, the same clock that ticked too loud, the same corner where Harold used to hang the mistletoe. But something inside me had shifted. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for someone to remember me, or include me, or call. I wasn't the glue anymore, but I also wasn't the doormat. I made myself a cup of cocoa, pulled out my old photo albums, and sat by the fire. There was one picture, Christmas 1996. Andrew in pajamas, holding a toy train, eyes shining, and me in the background, apron on, flower on my nose, smiling like the whole world fit in that tiny room. It did once. Now it fits right here, in the heart of a woman who finally realized it's not my job to keep traditions alive for people who forgot who started them. I didn't need revenge. I needed release. And in the quiet of that night, I found it. Christmas morning was crisp and quiet. Sunlight slid across my kitchen counter like it always had, and for once, I didn't feel the need to fill the silence. I made myself breakfast. Eggs, toast, real bacon. Not the plant-based kind Jenna used to bring. I sat at the table with my old green mug and ate slowly. No one rushed me. No one needed me. And somehow, that felt okay. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when my phone buzzed. Andrew. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hi, Mom." His voice was lower than usual, hesitant. I could hear something in the background, maybe the kids, maybe not. He paused. "The kids. They asked about you. Emma cried when you didn't show up last night." I said nothing. Jenna's parents ended up leaving early. It was kind of a mess. I tried to cook something. It didn't turn out. Still, I said nothing. "Mom, I know you're upset, and I know He stopped himself. I should have seen this sooner. He didn't say sorry, not directly, but it wasn't about the words anymore. I let the silence do what it does best, make people face what they've done. After a while, I spoke. "I canceled the catering because I wasn't invited. That's all. No hard feelings, Andrew. Just clarity." Another long pause. "The house. You never said it was still in your name. You never asked." He sighed, the weight of years and pride and guilt all in one breath. "What happens now?" "I don't know," I said. "But I think it's time we both stop assuming things." That afternoon, I got a knock on the door. 2 knocks, actually. Then the sound of little fists banging excitedly. I opened it to find Emma and Jake holding handmade cards, glitter everywhere, misspelled Merry Christmas in bold letters. "We missed you, Grandma," Emma said, launching into my arms. Jake clung to my leg. Behind them, Andrew stood, holding a bag of flour and a sheepish smile. "We were hoping maybe, if you're up for it, we could make some cookies?" I didn't answer with words. I just opened the door wider. That evening, my kitchen came alive again. Sprinkles flew, laughter spilled over the counters. Emma wore more frosting than she used. Jake dropped 2 eggs and declared it part of the magic. Andrew washed dishes without being asked, and for the first time in years, no one corrected me. No one made me smaller. No one asked me to be less. Later, when they'd gone home, I stood at my window and watched the porch light flicker on at the house down the street, my house, where I used to be invisible, and I felt nothing but peace. Because sometimes, the most powerful recognition isn't someone saying you were right. It's them finally showing up with flour-dusted hands and no excuses. If you've ever felt like someone slowly erased you from your own story, if you've ever given your whole heart and were still treated like a footnote, you're not alone. Drop a if this story touched something in you, and if you're still standing, quietly, proudly, then this isn't just my story. It's our revenge story.